So we're going to add React Router to our minesweeper just to show you what that's like, right? So eventually the feature we're going to add is the ability to visit a previous game of minesweeper and see if we can load that up and play. So we talked a brief bit about the fact that to really effectively use React Router, we need our app to be kind of clean. And we already have too much stuff here in our app. We want to get to the point where the only thing in the app is rendering like one game component, so that we can then wrap that in a router and be happy. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a new game component. And then we're going to pick up everything that's inside of the app, all the HTML that's inside of the app div, and we're going to move that over here as the HTML that goes in our game. And then we're going to replace this with just rendering the game component.
When we refer to the tabs at the top, we refer to them as components?
Nope, these are just files.
Files.
Yep, the game.js file, it just happens to define a component, right? Just like we wouldn't say this is the index.html component, it's just an index.html file. And this is our index.css file. We just follow this pattern where the name of the component is the name of the game.js, right? I wouldn't put the cell component in a board.js file, right? So game.js should store the game component. Cell.js should store the cell component. So I'll say I'll go to the game component. What I mean is I'm going to go to the file that contains it, right? And that's always going to be named the same thing as the component, so it makes it really easy to remember. So here's our game.js file with our game component in it, and all I did was move the big old table that was there. But also, all of this code here, right? The state, the component, the constructor, the new game, all that comes over as well. This stuff needs to come over as well. And Axios needs to come over as well. Oops. And Axios needs to come over as well. So all I've really done is move all that stuff down into a game, and my app is nice and clean. Now my game has all of that information in it. Oh, it's telling me I don't need this cell, right? So I probably could have started this way. But in the beginning, it didn't really make a whole lot of sense to do that. But now we have a reason why, right? We have this game component, right? I should still be able to play the game. Let's make a new game. Let's make an intermediate game, right? But what I'd like to be able to do now is be able to go to /game and the game number, 219004. Right, I'd like to be able to navigate to that game and play it. So let's add React Router. Actually, let me first refactor app so we have a clean game component. And then let's add React Router. Yeah. I don't know if you noticed how I did that. You notice I didn't type out yarn add? You may notice that I didn't type out yarn add. So in your terminal, if you type Control-R, so you know if you're in your terminal, first of all, that you can do up and down to go back to old commands, right? Has anybody discovered that? There's even a better version of that. If you type Control-R, hold down the Control key and hit R. This won't work in Windows. Sorry. But in the Mac terminal, and it may be if you're using a fancier version of Command Prompt or PowerShell, it might work. You can try it. Command R is the backwards case-insensitive search. So it's waiting for me to type part of a command I've typed once before. And it's going to go searching backwards through my history to find the first command that has those letters. R-E-A. So I found the last command that had R-E-A in it, Well, that just happens to be yarn add React router. And if this is the one I'm looking for, I can just start moving my cursor around and press enter. But if I hit Control R again, it's looking back through all my commands that had REA. So if it was 3 REA style commands ago, I can keep hitting Control R and going back through my history.
How do you cancel your search?
Control C. So if this is the one I want, I can now press the left and right arrow and change it before I press enter, or Control R, REA for React. I can just press enter and it will run that command. So once I've done a command like yarn start, I very rarely type yarn start. I do Control R, I do Control R, STA, or ST. Because I know yarn start has the word STAR in it, and I'll do Control R, ST. So very rarely will I type a whole long command out ever twice. I'll use Control R, reverse search. Here's a Gavin keyboard wizard tip of the day. And now hopefully our app will still work. Let it reload. And then let's import the things we need to import. So we're going to import browser router, add router, and route and link from React router DOM. Let's import those. And now let's wrap a router around our entire app. Let's add a route.
Is it Control R?
Control R in terminal. Hold down the Control key and tap the R.
I'm getting a reverse I search.
Yep, that's the reverse in case instead of search. Now type a little bit of a command you remember the letters from. Yeah. So when we go to the slash path exactly, let's make the component be our game. Right? Cool. Everything's still working. Right? We only have one route in our app, and it's the slash, and it goes to game. Let's add another route to game ID. That component is also going to be game. I'm going to use the same component for this game, for this route. Right? Nothing restricts me from using the same component for two different routes. But now what we can do is in our constructor, let's log these props. And let's see what happens when we go to that other route. Question?
When you're logging props, are you talking about from the API?
Nope. I'm literally logging this variable. Constructor, remember I said like a week ago or a week and a half ago that when we have our constructor props, we super props because our initializer gets a copy of the props? Well, let's take a look when we're on the home page. Hey, look at what's inside of props. A match, a location, a history. Right? Because React Router is now sending us extra props. We never cared about the props that were in here before. This is the first time we've ever cared about the props that are in the constructor. Right? Because there were really never many props we cared about. But now, if I go to /game42, look what's in our props. This.match.params ID 42. Ooh, nice, right? So what I can say here is after we initialize the state, I can say if this.props.match.params.id, if I have this ID, let's just do a console log go load a game. So if we have this, I'm going to drop this props. If we have a props match params ID, we're going to say go load a game. Hey, go load a game. But if I just go to the home page, I don't see that because I don't have an ID in my match. Right? There's no ID here to match. So what can I do? Well, I know that in the API, if I bring back up the Minesweeper API, if I can find it, Minesweeper API Heroku app, wasn't there an API endpoint that gets a specific game? Retrieves an already created game. We hadn't really used that yet, had we? Let's use it now. So instead of new game, let's make a function called load existing game. And it's going to take the game ID, and it's going to call Axios get HTTPS minesweeper api.herokuapp.com/games ID. I need to make this a backtick. Dot, then response, this dot set state, playing is true, and the game is response data. Now, if I call that function, this dot load existing game, this dot props dot match dot params dot ID, I now have it that we can load and play an existing game. So cool.
Super easy.
Super easy. Right? You just have to know all the magic incantations. I'm missing something. What am I missing? This closes that.
Do you need a period? I asked before the done.
You need one more parenthesis after the red one there, down below after game response data.
Yes, I need one right here. Thank you.
Oh yeah, right there. Whoops.
Nope. This one closes this. This closes this. I need another one of these. And then I need another one of these. Nope. Start over. This goes to there. This goes to here. Yeah, this is one of the reasons I don't like JavaScript. Because this is JavaScript, and this is one of the things I don't like about JavaScript. This is one of the things I do like about Python and Ruby and other languages is like their nesting structures are not as like, fuck, where do all the parentheses go? So this is state, this ends this, that ends the then, this ends that. Oh my god, did I get this right?
You need one more for
Nope, I need a dot. I got it!
You need one more than in the class. Oh, no.
Nope, we're good.
Oh, that's
Cool. So somebody boot up their Minesweeper and go play a game. Like play a couple parts. Don't have the game die. Just play a couple rounds of it. Then I want you to like post in Slack the game number that you're playing. Yeah. Right? So all we did was refactor to a single component. So our app was just rendering the game. We wrapped a nice router around it. We made another route with the game ID, rendering the same component. In the game, we said, hey, if we have this props match, which comes from router, and if that match has a parameter called ID, call a function load existing game and give it that ID. The load existing game said, use the API that can load an existing game, and when you get a response back, set the state to playing is true and process the game. Has someone come up with a game so far?
Yeah, totally.
Why can't I get to, for some reason I can't get to my Slack. Just tell me the game number.
219014.
21, say again?
219014.
Does your game look like that?
Yeah. Yep, that was mine.
Yeah.
This is my card.
Yeah. So, right, now we've loaded that game. Now, play a move or two more.
Okay.
Let me reload the game.
Hey.
Right? Now, what if we had something in our app that was like reloading this every half second, refetching the API? I could watch him play his game. Right? There are technologies like WebSockets that the server could be continuously sending us the state of the game, and my app could be receiving that push from the server, and then I could just repaint the display. So I would literally be live watching him play that game. All right? This is the start of being able to build more complex applications. All right?
So is this how like players play each other? Kind of similar?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same concepts. They're probably not using something like React, but it's the same idea. Like when you think about like when you're playing like Halo Online, either it's receiving game state data as like the entire state, or it's receiving updates to that state. Player A moved a foot to the left. Player B raised their gun. Player C fired a bullet. This is where the bullet is, right? It's receiving that state data over the network, and it's updating its game state and redisplaying the game. Same idea, different technologies, right? Super weirdly optimized because your game has to run at 60 frames a second and it's crazy, but the concept is exactly the same. It's not much different than this. Loading a saved game off of your hard drive on your PlayStation is the same concept as this. Different technology, same idea, right? So we're still practicing all of these things. So there's going to be a separate homework for this weekend to practice React Router. I will drop that in Slack during our meeting. Let's get back together at 3, and I'll answer any questions we have on React Router so far if you had a peek at the homework. And or what we can do is if anybody who's still working on their API and wants some help on issues, we'll just round robin go through each person's app, and I will clone your repository and we'll make some progress or fix some bugs or get you a little further down the road, and then I'll just hand that code back to you and we can run from there. So we'll just kind of go through everybody who's got something. If your app is working and you just are like, you're cool, then you don't have to participate. Or if you're like, hey, my app is working and I want to add something, we'll just put you at the end of the queue, that if we have time, we'll add some fancy feature to your app. Sound good?
At 3?
Yeah, we'll just get back together at 3. That just gives us some more time to get the room situated, and y'all can participate in the dry runs that this Cohort 11 is doing at 2.
We should move our stuff.
Yeah, I think we'll probably need the space, so I would probably like at least pack up your stuff and leave your table kind of clear of things, because all of these are probably going to go away. And they're probably at least going to get pushed to the side. Cool.